eternal light of God. Imagine that you might have heard those words from the moment that you could understand words. That the regular world that we see outside periodically disappeared from your awareness. And you heard a voice that said, "You are the holy light of God." Whether that was a voice that you heard through your heart or that it was actually an expression that was used in your circle of life, that it was commonplace to be referred to as the holy light of God. And that when you took that truth in, you automatically realized that it was not special to you for your behavior or your actions, but that it was from a deeper place that was declaring that all of humanity was the holy light of God, and you were part of that truth. And when you heard those words, holy light of God, you remembered. Maybe vaguely, but you remembered. And you accepted it as true. Whatever it meant, you didn't even understand all that it could mean, but you felt the truth. And as you felt the truth, you opened and rested in it. You accepted it. You let it wash through you. And it could cleanse fear. It could cleanse worry. It could cleanse the sensation of being separate. Because how could there be a separate self when you were the holy light of God and you accepted it? There was a teaching from Jesus where he spoke about being found as a child in his Father's temple. And he said, as a child, "I am in my Father's house." He wasn't defending it. He was stating what was true. And there is an important element that now, as you hear those words that you didn't hear in the past, that you now truly make the intention within that you accept that this is true. The holy light of God is what you are. There is a light, an actual light within you that shines, that blesses, that brings peace. And the calling is to accept it as fully as possible, to check within to see if you are pushing it away, if you are denying it in some way, either out of embarrassment or suspicion. What if it's not true? And how are you supposed to really manage this declaration? It's managed through humility. It's managed through the humility of acceptance. Of course, you are the light of God. This teaching has been carried through all the centuries in one form or another. And when you hear it, embrace it. Embrace it and let the vibration of that truth move within you, cleansing, transforming, until finally you walk with it in its totality. That you are here to bless through that holy light. And it is also the acceptance that God does not make mistakes. That declaration is the Word of God, the truth of God. And all that you are asked to do is accept it. And that acceptance, that declaration within you that now it can lead you, is meant to be owned, not as in opposition to anyone else. What the ego does with identity is to try to prove that you are better than, that you are more than, that you are the winner. And that is not the intention of love. The intention of love is complete equality. That when you are communing with the Divine Mother, when you are communing with the guides that have been sent to you, you are all in complete equality. They have an awareness of that complete equality that is not yet true within you. You have hints of that equality. But the more that you accept that the holy light of God is equality, it is not specialness. It is not that you have something that someone else doesn't have. Everyone is this same light. And because they may be completely ignorant of that light, doesn't make the light less. And it's there for you to recognize that light in every beloved and in every living essence that you see. Holy light of God. It's not just the light of God, it's the holy light of God. The holiness, the wholeness, the purity, the innocence, the brilliance, the love. It's all what you are. So as you wake up in the morning, let those words declare themselves. This is a day of recognizing the holy light of God that is within. And when you go to bed, to sleep, that it's the last thought that you have, that you take it into your sleep state with you. You are the holy light of God. And you're willing to discover the truth of what you are. And when you believe that you may have already touched it, and you may have touched it, but invite it in deeper, invite it in its totality. Let it have its way with you. And hold that sacredly. Hold it with divine humility that recognizes that the humility says, I am one with all creation. I have nothing to battle with. I have nothing to prove. And be willing to see that holiness everywhere you look. But don't deny its completed essence within you. You are the holy light of God. And everything that is that holy light joins with you. Holy light of God, all perfection. What stands in the way many times of the perfection of your holy light is the belief of wrongdoing, the belief that you are marked, damaged, without, or that you have done things that have changed your true identity. Nothing that you have ever done has changed your true identity. The forgiveness into truth says very clearly, I was mistaken. I was mistaken when I believed I was damaged. I was mistaken when I believed I was in error, or that I had committed crimes or condemned myself or others. And allow yourself to bring the forgiveness into the light, where you truly forgive all the ideas of mistakes or errors, and that you only want to see the holy light of God from moment to moment. Over the mountains of despair, we will rise above. Over the heartache and the pain, upon the wings of love. The healing of our savage heart, gently by the dove, miraculously transforming us upon the wings of love. Terrible mistakes we think we've made, regrets we've undergone. Sometimes the hopelessness makes us forget the sun at dawn. All delight and joyousness, the tender mercies of Jesus, who carries our burdens upon the wings of love. Jesus, who carries our burdens upon the wings of love. This prayer wants to touch your heart and your mind into recognizing the despair that walks with you, walks with everyone. There is because of the belief of separation, there is an intrinsic sadness that humanity walks with. It isn't there because God is absent. It's only there because it's believed in, and the separation is believed in. And that brings unconsciously a sadness throughout all of humanity, a bereftness of longing to be home, the longing to return to truth, to the light. Don't let the sadness have its way. It's meant to keep you imbalanced, unbalanced. It's meant to keep you believing that you have to somehow prove your worth to God. And there is nothing at all to prove, because everything that the divine sees is your holiness, your perfection. And all of the condemnation, all of the regret, all of the sadness, all of the anger, all of the fear, it will disappear when it's no longer held as legitimate, allowing the miraculous transformation upon the wings of love, serving, you're remembering, wanting to help you in every moment. And the sadness says, I have to do it myself. I have to fix this myself. And all that you're truly asked to do is to be willing to have the power of love transform, to surrender whatever it is that's in the way, any sadness, any regret, any irritation, any anger, any sense of loss, surrendered, so that love can transform everything back into love. This hymn that I'm going to sing was the hymn that really touched my heart the deepest, because every time I sang it, I cried. Every single time I sang it, I cried. Didn't matter where I was. It didn't matter what the situation was. I couldn't not cry. My Father, I ask that you hear me. ask that you hear that I'm asking to learn about forgiveness. I ask not only for me, I ask for all of humanity. My Father, when you forgive the lies of the ego for everyone, you forgive everything that stands in the way. You send forgiveness so that we may use forgiveness and become free. The boat which sails on the sea also sails in my heart. The one who baptizes here and removes all elements of error is the one who was baptized in the river Jordan. We are one. I ask that you hear me. I want to remember. Meu Pai, peço que vos me ouça, para eu pedir o perdão. Eu peço não só para mim, meus irmãos. Meu Pai, quando for perdoar, perdoe como e convém. Eu peço que vos nos perdoe, como perdoou em Belém. A barca que corre no mar, corre no meu coração. Aquele que aqui batiza, batizou o Rio de Jordão. That yearning place that brings tears. Everyone has it. Everyone has it because everyone longs to open to the divine communication with all of God in all of its aspects, all of its energy fields. I ask that you hear me. It has the yearning in it to return home. And let that be all that you want. That forgiveness comes into your heart. And that you are willing truly to forgive yourself for having believed that you were abandoned, rejected, unseen, unloved. To realize that none of that was the truth of you. And you can come home to the freedom of love and be the holy light that you have always been. Beyond any silence that you have heard, different trees grow various heights and then perish and evolve into other species, always evolving, always letting go. They reach their limbs, their souls, a little deeper into the brilliant well of truth as they transform. And then tell the world by their appearance what that life is like. Listen in the silence. Yes, try to do that before you depart this place that we are visiting. Listen in the silence. As love brings us the good tidings of silence beyond any silence that you have already heard. Listen in the silence, beyond the silence that you have heard. Silence is a practice. It's a practice that actually carries with it a deep fear of what the silence might bring. That's why it's avoided. Within the silence is learning, are the mysteries, the communication, all within the silence. And within that silence, the depth of the silence is through the doorway of not knowing. You can't bring knowing with you into the silence. It's leaving everything outside the door and coming into the silence and recognizing the silence of love. I can say over and over and over again, and I will say over and over again, not to be afraid of going into the silence. The ego tries to convince that if you go into the silence, you're going to be met with the fears that you have of who and what you are, or what you've done in past lives, in this lifetime. But the silence has no accuser within it. The silence takes you into the vibration of God, where you can hear the stillness of love. It can't be explained. It has to be met, because it's what we're here for. As you enter into the silence, the outside world is forgotten, even if it's just for a second. It's forgetting the identity in the outside world and coming into the truth of your exquisite self. There's a relationship with the inner world that's essential. And when you are able to be courageous to go into that silent space, you meet awareness. You're not doing anything. You're just being in silence, waiting, inviting. But the light of love begins to take you into the schoolroom of the inner silence, begins to take you into the inner sanctum of your sacredness. It will teach you of yourself. It will teach you of truth. And you will find that the truth of you has always been there. You're not developing anything. You're not making a better spiritual seeker. You're quietly meeting the love that you are. And you're meeting love, which is the truth of everything. You don't have to have a roadmap to go into the silence. You don't have to have a plan. As a matter of fact, you can't have a plan. You can't have a roadmap. But love will take you and show you and teach you. And just as you're learning to walk in the world in a new way, you go into that silence and elements of your divine self get revealed. And then the elements of love that are in everything are revealed also. But you can't plan it. You can't have a roadmap. It's all surrender. Don't be afraid of the silence, to go beyond the silence that you have already heard, and to let the language of love speak to you in silence. Different trees grow various heights and then perish and evolve into other species. The statement of this is really to affirm to you that there is no death. Everything that lives loses its outer shell, its outer identity, and evolves into moving with the divine, teaching. They reach their limbs, their souls, a little deeper into the brilliance of creation. Everything of spirit is the wisdom of the universe, and its essence is in everything. And you meet that essence in the silence as well. Because it isn't the language that we use with words. It's to allow the song of love to be heard in the deep silence. Beyond any silence that you've already heard. The difficulty in the journey of healing is that the ego is constantly chattering. The ego is constantly saying, don't do that, don't go there, you already know what you need to know. You're fighting in the world like you need to be fighting in the world. No. Somewhere deep within each beloved is the awareness that you are only here for a particular purpose. You are here only to remember the truth of who you are. And it's not a loss to discover that, because deep within you, you've always had that in your heart that you wanted to remember, and that you wanted the sadness to stop. The sadness, the belief of aloneness, the belief of abandonment. Deny it. Deny it as deeply as you possibly can, because it has no value and no truth. Nothing is needed. Do you want to see what you have denied in the past? What you have denied of truth? Merely by being in the world and believing what the world presents. Do you want to see what you have denied as reality? This is your own inner advocate that wants to see the truth, that wants, above all else, to be in truth and to recognize truth and to be enveloped in truth. Why would we want anything else? Why would we settle for anything else but the ultimate truth of love? and that ultimate truth of love is within you. There's a question: do you desire a world where you have no enemies and cannot be separate? In the sanity, yes, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to be in a world where there are no enemies, and you cannot be separate. You cannot meet a stranger. You cannot meet anyone, you cannot see anyone, you cannot be with anyone that is not your beloved. And once that has been accepted, you can't see the world the same anymore because everyone is your beloved. Who are you meeting? I hardly ever go to a store, and I went to a store a few days ago. It was a miraculous adventure that everyone that I was coming across, everyone that I was meeting, not saying hello, not making eye contact even, because that isn't, I was making eye contact, but it isn't necessarily reciprocated. But the joy of seeing all these beloveds and coming so close to each one, and there was a melting with each one. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what their story is. It doesn't matter what they believe. There's a happiness, there's a joy, there's an ecstasy in meeting the beloved everywhere you go. It's a habit that has to be cultivated because it isn't natural in the world of the ego. In the world of the ego, it took me a long time, I would almost say years, to be able to look at another beloved and not retreat from making eye contact. There was a terror of making eye contact that was beyond this lifetime. And yet I was called to stay focused and let the fear dissipate. That the screaming that was going on of don't look, don't open that way, that screaming voice lost its strength. It lost its power because I was determined to bring my heart through to every beloved. Not my heart, but the heart of love. Did anyone know that I was making eye contact? No. The teaching, the learning was within. It wasn't to say, look, I'm making eye contact with you. Aren't you impressed? But just to open the heart and the eyes together and connect, offer love just in that moment, offering love. Not seeing anyone as defective, not seeing anyone as the wrong kind of person, the wrong personality. No, all disappearing. The spirit shows up in that deep silence of love. The spirit is connecting. And you'll find that you can't avoid the happiness You can't avoid the peace, you can't avoid the connection because it's God's connection. It's the connection that affirms that you are the holy light of God because this is what you want. And it's when you want it that it is given. Be stubborn, be tenacious, that you want the deeper silence and that you want to open to the love with every beloved. Be willing and be tenacious. You may be the only one that is determined to open that door of love. Allow it. Allow its full capacity. Don't turn away from it. And don't worry about being foolish by offering love through your eyes and heart. Every beloved that you meet through that way will be transformed. Allow the transformation to truly be in its fullness. You're not there by yourself. You're not making that decision by yourself. You are aligning with the light of God in its completion. You're aligning with the vibration of God's love, and you are transmitting it. And as you transmit that love that is coming through God, your light is glowing. Your light is transforming because you have that power to transform within you. You're transforming with the help of God, with the truth of innocence, with the truth of the holy light, and you are offering it to every beloved through your eye contact, through your heart's contact. You're not avoiding anyone, and you're not needing anyone as well. There's no need to avoid, and there is nothing to get from any other beloved. You are already everything that is the truth of love. Imagine that you accept that you are the truth of love, that you are complete, that you are whole, you are innocent, and you're discovering that truth, that you're here to discover that truth. And as you hold that divine truth that you are everything, you realize that you have lost the urgency of trying to get approval from anyone else, or you're trying to get that you're liked from anyone else, or that you're needing to prove to anyone your worth. You're at peace because you are the light of God. And you walk in the happiness of that light. You walk through your life affirming that you are the holy light of God and that you're here to learn to love through the deep silence so that you hear the song of love that your soul, your spirit is singing. You have a particular song that vibrates into everyone that you bring love to. As you love without conditions, your song of love is received. And it's your journey. The journey into the silence, beyond the silence that you've already heard, and in the silence of the deeper truth of God. In that deeper silence and in the truth of your holy light, you cannot have an enemy. There's no way possible to hold the light within you and hold an enemy. And remember what an enemy is. An enemy is anyone that you see as having faults, or that they are doing something to you. They're not doing anything to you. The only thing that we're affected by is our own minds and our own self-incrimination. And it's time for that to be let go. But no one is the culprit. It was just a mistaken identity that is no longer valid in any form or fashion. You are the light of God. Accept the light. Accept the truth. Accept your inheritance. You are the light of God. This moment is the moment of God. Allow. Holy light of God. Every moment.